staff, management, and advertisers.
What's going on, everybody? A happy Friday. What's up, PTL Nation? Good to be with you on this beautiful Friday afternoon in Las Vegas. If it's cold where you are, sucks for you. That's why I live in Las Vegas. Got a lot to get to today, a lot to talk about. We got Ryan Shedd that's going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. Going to cover this story of, I'm laughing at it because it's so ridiculous. Listen, there's nothing funny about sexual assault. But this appears to be allegedly the second time for Matt Schlapp, also known as Matt Schlong, the chairman of the American Conservative Union. We're going to talk about this. Allegedly, reportedly, with witnesses, he grabbed the junk of a dude at some bar, and now people are speaking out on it. Pretty insane. I want to start, before we get to our guest, I want to start with this because I think this is important. Now, I call it as it is, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. I try to be fair on this show, and yes, I lean to the left, and yes, I don't have a lot in common with Republicans, but I also try to be fair, and I call out Democrats as I see it. And I believe Eric Adams has a lot of similarities to Donald Trump. He had a lot of very serious charges that were brought against him, a lot of mounting evidence against Eric Adams. Now, he deserved to defend himself in a courtroom, as I would say for anybody, even a Donald Trump. But if you don't think that this is a quid pro quo, then you are a biased hack. As much as I'm on Donald Trump on a daily basis, and we all know how corrupt he is, and we all know what a terrible human being he is, it's also important to call out the other side when necessary. Now, if you haven't been following this, they dropped the charges on Eric Adams. Why? Very interesting, because Eric Adams is now all on board with Donald Trump's immigration policies. He's totally okay with ICE going into synagogues and churches and deporting a bunch of nonviolent immigrants that happen to not have the proper paperwork. So Eric Adams made the excuse of, well, I can't really do my job with having to deal with these charges. Well, guess what? Then don't break the law. But Eric Adams did have the time to show up with Tom Homan today on Fox and Friends. And I want you to listen to the excuse that Eric Adams made when he was asked about this.
Think about that. Think about that. Think about my attorney, Alex Spira, one of the top trial attorneys in the country. Imagine him going inside saying that the only way Mayor Adams is going to assist in immigration, which I was calling for since 2022, right, is if you drop the charges. That's quid pro quo. That's a crime. It took her 3 weeks to report in front of her a criminal action. Right. Come on, this is silly.
No, it's not silly. And 7 prosecutors have stepped down because they are pissed off that they were pressured into dropping these charges because clearly this was a quid pro quo. Now, if you don't believe me, listen to what Tom Homan said sitting right next to Eric Adams on Fox and Friends today.
If he doesn't come through, if he doesn't come through, I'll be back in New York City, right, and we won't be sitting on the couch. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, "Where the hell is the agreement we came to?" So,
right. I want ICE to deliver, and I want ICE to deliver. We're going to deliver for the safety of the people of this city.
Make no mistake about it. This is corruption. This is a quid pro quo. Eric Adams should have to face the music in a courtroom. Instead, he's playing with people's lives. What do I mean by that? He might be the only Democrat in the country that's okay with ICE deporting nonviolent criminals in churches, synagogues, and schools. Why would he be okay with this? Because the charges have been dropped. Now, I understand that a couple of years ago, Eric Adams wanted to enforce some positions that maybe some on the right would enforce, but he's never taken it this far. And now Tom Homan, you heard him, this is a quid pro quo. In other terms, we're going to file those charges against you again, Mr. Adams, unless you abide by what we say and what we do. He is a pawn for the Donald Trump administration, and Democrats and Republicans should be outraged by this. I try to call balls and strikes on this show, and I'm telling you right now, Eric Adams, in my opinion, is he as dangerous as Donald Trump? No, of course not. but there are some similarities here. And while Donald Trump is a 34-count convicted felon, okay, Eric Adams should have had his day in court to face the music, and that is now not going to happen. And there are people in New York City that are suffering for it, and there are those that are in that city for decades and decades that pay their taxes that are going to be deported so that Eric Adams doesn't get prosecuted. Ladies and gentlemen, that's wrong. And if you don't call it out, you're a bias hack. So to talk about this and many more issues that we are going to be getting to today, one of my favorite left-wing podcasters. He does a great job on social media, and plenty to get to with him. And last time we had some technical difficulties.
We're good this time, right?
Yes, we sound good.
Okay, good. Thank
Ryan
God.
Shedd, and I even pronounced your name right this
Hey,
time.
man, we're good.
Yes, we're good. Ryan, loud and clear, my friend. I hear you.
Good.
Thanks so much for coming on, Ryan.
Yes,
I really
sir.
do appreciate
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so before we get to some of the other important topics of the day, and there's so much I want to get to you on, do you agree with me that the Eric Adams situation here, that this is a quid pro quo? What are your thoughts on this?
100%. And I agree with anybody that is unwilling to admit that is okay with it. But again, like you said, these people just put a felon, a prolific business fraud, and all the other stuff. They put him in office, so they really don't care. And I want to remind folks of this. There's a reason that we have security clearance background checks and that we do background checks. It's so that people like this don't get into our government. All right? Because what we're seeing right now is insane. We're seeing people, if you're a criminal, that makes you easy to flip. That says somebody like Donald Trump or the Republican Party can easily come up to you and say, hey, here you're having some issues. We can help you out with that. And like you said, that's exactly what we're seeing. And they're so blatant with it too. It's not like, okay, let's wait like 6 months and then do it. It's like, no, we'll just do it all like same day, same week.
I agree, Ryan. And what's really unfortunate about this whole situation, as you know, is that the people in New York City are the ones that are going to suffer for it. Families that might have people, that are undocumented, but pay their taxes. They're not violent criminals. I'm not talking about the violent criminals. We both agree on that. Most of the country agrees.
Yeah.
If you're a violent criminal and you're undocumented, get out. But we're not talking about that. And how Eric Adams can look in the mirror knowing that this is a quid pro quo and that so many families are going to be affected by this. And, he's a pawn for the Donald Trump administration. This is very dangerous.
Well, it is. And I'm glad you keep bringing up the point that these are people working. These are people that are still paying taxes in the communities that they live in. Like I said, if you want to go into a jail and you want to go see if there's undocumented folks in there to send them back, I don't think many Americans would have a problem with that. But when you start going into people's homes, when you start going into hospitals, when you start going into, all these places, movie theaters, they're going everywhere. They're rounding people up. You can spin it however you want, but they are rounding people up. And more importantly, if you want to talk about government fraud, waste, and abuse and counting, bean counters, let's talk about how much money we are going to have to pay as taxpayers for every American that they accidentally pick up, because then they're going to be able to sue.
Yeah.
Unless Donald Trump and all the judiciary people he's appointing come up with some way to make sure they can't sue. But, if this does continue to be America, then any American picked up by law enforcement and detained is going to have a lawsuit that they can bring. So,
and it is interesting that I agree with you. And it is interesting that, the right-wing entities like the Newsmaxes and the Fox News, they've been going after Eric Adams, but it seems like now they're going to be kind of silent because they know that there's some sort of deal struck and an agreement with the Trump administration, which I find cowardly. And here we are. We're certainly, leaning to the left. You may be a little bit more to the left than I am, but at the same time, it's important for people like us to call this out, right? You have to call balls and strikes, and I think that's important. Here's something interesting. In the last, 3 weeks, a little more than 3 weeks, what has Donald Trump accomplished? Well, he's pissed off a lot of our allies. I think the most serious, and you can tell me if you disagree, we could start with this, is the concessions that apparently he's giving Vladimir Putin. If you remember,
100%.
Ryan, right off the bat, he was very mum. Oh, I didn't offer him much. And Caroline Leavitt in the White House, not really saying, you can disagree with exchanges and getting Brittany Griner back. People can disagree with it and say it's not a good deal, but at least Joe Biden was completely transparent about it.
We knew exactly who we gave up. We knew what we gave up to get her back. Absolutely.
Right. And Vladimir Putin why did he invade Ukraine? Well, of course, power, he wants land, and he wants to make sure they don't get into NATO. That's exactly what Donald Trump is doing for Putin. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing to me that all the right-wingers out there that were so upset at this exchange with Brittany Griner, but yet when it comes to this, and Trump never says it was Russia that invaded Ukraine. Notice how he never criticized Putin for anything.
Nope. And I want to bring this up. So for everybody that voted for him because they said, oh, he's going to end all the wars in the Middle East and with Ukraine. Yeah, he's going to end them. He's going to end them by siding with the dictator Putin, and he's going to end them by going in and buying Gaza himself. I'm sorry. Are we paying attention yet? Like, this is insane. And this isn't even talking about what's happening in our own borders with him. Like, this is international stuff. He's literally, like you said, he's kowtowing to Vladimir Putin. We are literally watching a president bow down to Russia. And I don't see enough people upset about this.
I agree. The art of the deal is what those right-wingers will say. But yet, Vladimir Putin is getting rewarded. Make no mistake about it. He's getting rewarded for invading a country, our allies. And I hear it on this show sometimes, people calling in, more criticism of Zelensky than Vladimir Putin. It is disgusting, and you will never hear Trump say, yes, Putin started this war. You know, all the rhetoric of it would have never happened if I was president, but you'll never hear him say Putin should never have invaded Ukraine. Nope. And I'm wondering what Zelensky will say to some of this stuff. It really is. I feel horrible for the good people in Ukraine. I feel terrible for them. This is very dangerous when you send the message as the president of the United States, we're going to reward you if you beat police officers on January 6th, as long as you're one of my supporters. And we're going to reward you if you're an evil, murderous dictator invading a country. It's so dangerous.
Well, you know, going back to quid pro quos, right? It's very evident to people paying attention that there was a quid pro quo between Putin and Trump. You know, you want to go back to the Mueller report in 2016, they can sit there and say, oh, it was all, BS. It was no, it wasn't. And I think we're seeing now that the people that put their careers and even their lives and their families, safety on the line to bring this to the American people, it was so easily dismissed.
Yeah. It's so dangerous.
That's the issue. And I just want to bring up, they're sitting there deporting all these people that have jobs, paying taxes into their communities and all that stuff. Simultaneously, Donald Trump released like 1,500 actual violent offenders. And several of them, by the way, have already ended up back in jail for several different things, some of them being domestic violence among them. So it's like, maybe Donald Trump shouldn't have let those criminals out.
Yeah, maybe not. I agree. And anyone who says law and order party, you just bring up January 6th and they lose that argument. If you're just joining us, Ryan Shedd, very popular left-wing podcaster. I find it interesting, too, that we're living in a time, Ryan, when General Milley's picture frames are taken down in the White House and some of them are replaced by a mugshot of Donald Trump. Have you heard the story and the letter that apparently Trump sent out to those in the White House that say don't use the term felon? Have you seen this? That's fake.
That one's fake. That one's fake.
I'm glad by the way,
I literally said on there, I said, you know what? Underneath when somebody posted it, and this was before they community noted and fact checked it, I said, you know what the sad thing is? I don't know if this is real.
Yeah.
Like normally, if you would have read that from Joe Biden, if you would have read that, you'd have been like, yeah, that didn't happen.
Yeah. You never
when
know.
It's Trump, you're like,
I didn't know if it was real or not.
Exactly.
And I had some fun with it on social media, and I just put Donald Trump's a felon. Donald Trump's a felon. And I just had some fun with it.
Plenty of people are. But it's the sad thing is we are living in a time where we have to question everything. And you and I have talked about this, about the responsibility, that we start to have as your platform builds and you get a louder voice out there. You have a responsibility to do that due diligence, and people respond to that. They tune into you and me because they know, we're gonna do our due diligence, and and if we post something that's off, happens to us all, that you're gonna come out and be like, oh, yep, that was my bad. Here's the real information.
It seems like people on the left seem to have a good habit of doing that, and it appears to me
more.
Yes, and then there are so many people on the right, whether it be Paul Pelosi getting bludgeoned with a hammer, and Ted Cruz and Matt Gaetz and others with the conspiracy theories, they never retracted. Or New Orleans terrorist attack, open borders, it was a migrant, and then it turned out that was false. No retractions. There's too many lore loomers out there, and I find
they clutch their pearls better than anybody I've ever seen.
Agree.
It's just insane. What I don't understand is if you go look on my Twitter, I go really hard on Twitter because of the free speech and all. But it's like these people, they can't debunk us. They can't debunk the information we're bringing, so they just lose their minds. And it's just so easy for us to just spin them up, but also get our message across. Again, we've talked about this, is don't pay attention to how I get your attention. Pay attention to what I say after it. Because we live in this red meat clickbait, world right now. So we have to play that game. But once you get people's attention, what am I going to tell you? I'm going to tell you that these people voted for a fraud, a prolific felon, like an abuser. It's been deemed in court.
Yes,
this is what these people voted for. So as liberals and Democrats, we can't expect them to have any public responsibility, any corporate responsibility, or any responsibility to the American people. We need to get that out of our minds right now and realize and pay attention to the people that are trying to protect us, that are trying to protect the Constitution, that are trying to protect all Americans, and not just the people that are trying to stuff money in Elon Musk and Donald Trump's pockets.
Yeah, and that's what's most dangerous, is that this guy has so much power right now.
It's huge.
Yeah, I agree. So speaking of clutching pearls, what a great transition to make.
That's good. I like that.
Let's talk about Matt Schlapp, also known as Matt Schlong. That's what I call him. The chairman of the American Conservative Union, which hosts the CPAC convention. And apparently from some really good reporting, allegedly he engaged once again in lewd conduct and allegedly sexually assaulted a man at a restaurant and a bar in Virginia last week. There are at least 6 witnesses that were there that are saying on the record that the man who alleges he was assaulted have told this reporter, who has a very large following on social media. What do you make of this story? And again, Matt Schlapp, like so many on the far right, particularly the far right evangelicals, who are anti-gay, who are anti-trans, who attack the LGBTQ community on a daily basis. And now we're learning that Matt Schlapp allegedly sexually assaulted another man at a bar. What do you make of this story?
Well, again, I'm glad you said this happened last week. This didn't happen 10 years ago. This happened last week. And again, it just I think further solidifies that when Grindr went down during CPAC, we know why. Because these people are all hypocrites. They're scared to they're all cowards. Let's call it what it is. Because it takes real courage to come out and tell your family, your friends in the world, you know what, I don't vibe like this. I don't do the normal thing. This is how I identify. This is who I love, whatever. And for some reason, these cowards that won't come out and admit that they are the same way, they have to punch down on them every day to somehow make themselves feel better. And I think it's because they have a real conflict within themselves. And to keep that conflict in check, they have to project it onto somebody else. That's what I see. And it's upsetting. I have transgender. I purposely went out and made transgender friends to understand better and become a better ally. And because of that, it's infuriating me even more to see the ignorance and the hate being thrown at not just trans community, but pretty much any community that isn't white, male, and a straight Christian right now. Like if you don't belong in that category, you're in trouble. Yep.
I mean, I still talk about this because I thought it was just so despicable. I mean, I feel like Donald Trump, every single day, it's more ammo with his racism and bigotry. But I thought after that plane crash, when he brought up DEI hires, I mean, it couldn't be more despicable. Can you imagine, Ryan, your sister or your daughter flying that helicopter? The investigation is still ongoing. We don't know exactly what took place, but clearly they were
still on fire. Like they didn't even put the flames out yet.
Exactly. That's my point. They hadn't taken out all the bodies, and it's just what a horrible circumstance. And if you're the parents of anybody, but especially that female pilot, and they're afraid to release her name in fear of Donald Trump and attacks from the far right because she might be a white female and gay. I mean, it's like, what country, Ryan, are we living in today?
Well, we're living in a country where Americans have now accepted a president attacking military folks, veterans, And you can look no further than today. They're getting, I think it was 100,000 jobs they're getting rid of in the VA or something like that.
Correct. Yep.
A massive amount of jobs they're getting rid of in the VA. And as a veteran who spends time in the VA, I can tell you that their service is already pretty terrible. So doing that to veterans is pretty messed up, all to save a few bucks. Yeah. So it really doesn't surprise me, unfortunately. The bigotry, the hatred, the cowardice of these people, it never fails to show. They waste no time and leave no stone unturned when it comes to pushing their propaganda. Like you said, the fact that they were pulling bodies out of the water, and this man's, posting on social media that it was a DEI, failure. And again, I just want to keep saying, I'm waiting for people on the right and Donald Trump to tell us in a way that makes sense what is wrong with diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Well, I think it's pretty simple, right? It's pretty simple, Ryan.
From where I'm sitting, because those three words, in my opinion, make America stronger, not weaker.
Of course, that's the way a normal, decent human being would think, that isn't a bigot. So let's be honest, right? You're not, I'm not. How much does it bother you that you have Elon Musk, not only the Doge stuff, but meeting with Moti and trying to strike a deal with him, hundreds of millions of dollars he's been trying to strike a deal with a Tesla deal with them. I mean, you want to talk about a conflict of interest. The same people that were complaining about Hunter Biden maybe getting a meeting with the big guy are extremely silent when you have Elon Musk meeting with world leaders for his own financial benefit, and they don't have a problem with that.
Exactly. I was about to say, like, they're not silent. They're actually, they're fine with it. Like, they're happy about it. And I'm looking at these photos and I'm thinking to myself, like, he's the president. He's the president. He's who they're coming there to talk to. He's who Elon Musk, they're coming to the White House and they're coming to Washington, D.C. to bend knee to Elon Musk, not Trump. And look no further than his kid. Like, you remember when Donald Trump yelled at a reporter, "You don't talk to the president like that, da 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 da." Well, that little kid told you to get out of your seat because it's not yours. And you just sat there like the little punk that you are, because the dude that you work for was standing right there, and that's his kid. And we all, any of us who've had a job in an office or a company or whatever, we've all had that boss that brings their little kid in that you have to be freaking nice to.
Little X.
And we know what that look is. And that was the look that Donald Trump had.
So I've gone through that audio because people have called in and they've asked me to comment on it. And I didn't want to do it until I've listened to it over and over again. It's very clear to me that Lil X's son said a couple things. First of all, he told the president to shut up.
Yep.
And he also said, "You're not the president. You need to leave. You're not the president." I've listened to it over and over again. It's very clear to me. And I only come up with one conclusion, which is this is the stuff that Elon Musk has been saying behind closed doors. And clearly his son picked up on it and repeated it.
This is the second time. Let me remind you of Tucker Carlson's interview that he did with him, where he's standing at the microphone and he says what he's repeating what Elon says. We're just gonna do what we want to do, and literally Tucker Carlson like nervously laughs because he knows what that kid just said, and he's like, "I like you. You're honest." It's like, yeah, honest about what he's hearing behind closed doors, which is pretty freaking terrifying.
It's extremely terrifying, and it's extremely troublesome. And the people out there that are not willing to call it out, let's just say what it is. They are cowards. Thank you, Courtney, for your donation. Courtney says, "Why not give nonviolent illegal immigrants work visas to alleviate the tax payment issue and give time to go through the legal process?" Ryan, what do you say to that?
Great question. I think that that's probably one of the biggest issues with our immigration system right now, is that we don't have a quick way to do it. You know, if you've got to wait 5-6 years, you're not going to patiently wait in line. You're going to find a way to get across, especially if you're in danger, your family's in danger, or you're not making money, whatever your reasons are for coming. If you have to wait an extended period of time, that's only going to increase illegal crossings. Okay. And by the way, go look at which party has been standing on their soapbox for the last 4 years, shouting that the border's wide open, because they're the ones that you should be blaming for the influx of people that kept coming to the border. It wasn't Democrats saying, "Oh, we're wide open. Come on, we'd love to have you." It was Republicans.
And also, it's so important to add that, per capita, you have a better chance of being the victim of a crime from a U.S. citizen than you do an undocumented immigrant.
How many
But
undocumented immigrants have walked into a school and shot it up?
thank you. I agree. Yeah. And by the way, what's the demo? It's usually not. Let's be honest here. It's usually not the
Definitely
demo.
getting a little more diverse lately, but
yeah, that's for sure.
I just want to touch on that. It really is important for us to come up if we want to really deal with the border issue. It's not going to be sending military down there to shoot folks. It's going to be making it so people can come in the right way. And if you're going to, like Elon said, if you're going to come in and you're going to work and you're going to, you just want to have a good life, hey, come on. Like we got land, come on. We want workers. They want people that are going to work. Okay, well, let's make it easy. And my final point on this is going to be, and you can go Google me, everybody, because I'm not trying to start a cult. We're just trying to educate, is that Melania Trump came here on, I think, an EB-1 visa, I believe it is, which is like an Einstein visa.
Yep.
So she would have had to have some, miraculous skill that America needed to get that visa. And after watching her as First Lady, my question is, what the hell does she bring to America that was so good that she should get a visa over all these other people working their ass off?
Completely agree. And we haven't even touched on the anchor baby stuff, but
Nope.
I would say to this, which, by the way, this is just a ridiculous conversation that MAGA Republicans are bringing up. But if that is the case, then wouldn't Barron Trump be considered an anchor
Just
baby?
posted that this morning. I went to Grok. I used Elon's AI and I asked it, was Melania Trump a citizen when Barron was born? It said no, she was not.
Yeah. So there you go. But
what was that question that was up?
Yes, there's another question. Can you repost that?
That's
okay,
a good one.
Yeah. So, Brian, thank you for your donation. Brian Rodriguez says Army and Navy remove web pages highlighting women's military service. What do you make of that?
Well, again, as a husband of a woman who did 22 years in the military and seeing how she had to work twice as hard to receive half as much of the recognition, as her white counterparts.
Right.
Seeing NASA, paint over murals of, the women and black women who've dedicated their lives and contributed so much to the space program. And now to see the Department of Defense, using this DEI nonsense to basically go back to making everybody in the military that isn't a man, and isn't white and isn't straight, that you are not accepted, that you shouldn't be serving our country for some reason. My question is, why is it that people think women and transgender folks shouldn't be able to serve their country? You think there aren't jobs that everybody can do in there?
Bigotry, Brian, bigotry.
That's all it is.
Hate. Yeah.
And ignorance. It's like, do you know how many gay people I worked with? I used to cover for one. I used to say that we were dating. She was gay. She was dating a female Marine. Like, I had a transgender friend in the military. These people just want to serve their country. They love America just like the rest of us. And now, not only are they not allowed to serve, but their country is looking at them and telling them that they aren't as good as everybody else, that they aren't as loved, they aren't as accepted. That's the message that not only our military is sending, but our federal government.
Yeah, how sad is that? I mean, these are the times that we are living in today. 2025, the MAGA Republican Party, and they've hijacked the party, and this is where we're at.
Hijacked the country, brother.
They really have. You're right. And if you don't look like us, and you don't believe in all of what we believe in, and if you don't call it the American Canal or the U.S. Canal or whatever the hell they want us to call it,
I'll never refer to that as that.
Yeah, then we're going to take your credentials away. And by the way, the Associated Press. I mean, what are we doing? Ryan, I want you, you're one of the best at just calling out truth on social media. And the MAGAs, you're obviously doing something right, because the MAGAs.
When MAGA's upset, you're doing something right.
They can't stand the truth, clearly. They can't stand people like you and me. I want you to give out that information, even though you have a much larger following than I have on X, that's for sure. But I want you to give out the information, how people can follow you, because I think you're a great follow and you have a great podcast.
Oh, I appreciate that. And as always, appreciate coming on, man. This is a great show. And I think especially over the next 2 to 4 years, it's going to be important for us to continue building shows like this and building, these connections and bringing other people on our shows, So we have our show, which is actually tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern, is Hold the Mic, which I host with my good friend Ian Sherman. It's a great show. We have a good time. We like to end every episode with a positive from each of us because, as you can tell, talking about politics and everything can be a little heavy. So we like to at least add a little humor and fun at the end. But yeah, this is the game, everybody. I think that's the message I want to leave you with. Please come follow us. Please come follow our YouTube. But at the end of the day, I need you guys to keep supporting shows like this. I need you to keep supporting liberals that are trying to get the message out. We need to keep supporting elected officials like Jasmine Crockett and AOC who aren't just sitting there watching this happen and saying, "Oh, I don't know what we're going to do." That's how we're going to win this. And probably the biggest thing I want to leave folks with right now, and I'm struggling with this myself, so I'm not going to lie, but there are a lot of people right now that are starting to see the light. They're starting to see what Donald Trump is doing. They're starting to see what Elon Musk is doing, and they're starting to understand now that this is not okay. This is not a direction that we want to see America go. And as much as we want to, and me probably more than most, that we want to chastise these people, point at them and laugh and say, you're getting what you deserved. You know, you effed around and found out. At some point, we're going to have to bring these people in. And I think now is probably, I feel like now is the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like right now is the time that we as liberals, Democrats, whatever you are, this is when we can start reaching out and saying, okay, right, come with us and let's make sure this doesn't happen. Let's make sure we can stop this.
Yeah,
so that's what I want to leave you all with. Please come watch the show. Come follow us on our social media. You can find it by my name. You can find us under Hold the Mic. Brian, brother, thank you so much for having me.
And just, I don't want people to be confused. When you say Hold the Mic, we're not talking about Matt Schlapp. I just want to be clear. I just want to be clear on that.
Bro, my partner is going to love that.
We're not talking about Matt Schlapp at a bar on a Saturday night.
He's going to love that.
We're talking about Ryan Shedd's podcast. I just want to be clear. All right. Fair enough.
Brother, you're awesome, dude.
Ryan, you're the best. Thanks so much for coming on, my friend. We got to do another space one of these days. And,
hey, anytime, brother.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. You have a great weekend, my friend.
You too, man.
Ryan Shedd, everybody, one of the best. I really do appreciate him for coming on. He does a great job. So we've talked about Eric Adams. And I've talked about the quid pro quo, and I've talked about, to start the program, how if you're going to attack one side, you've got to be able to attack the other one. And I believe Eric Adams is a fraud. I believe he's a criminal, a scumbag. You know, pick and choose what you want. You're playing with American lives for your own, benefit. Let's just call it for what it is. So it is interesting because, speaking of people who do things for their own benefit, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. appeared on Laura Ingram's show on Fox News yesterday. And he was asked by Laura Ingram, who I think is a despicable person, do you have a list of people that need to be removed and quickly? So RFK Jr. basically has a similar list to Kash Patel. Have a listen to this.
You have a list of people that you already know need to be removed and quickly?
I have a list in my head, and you know, we have a generic list of the kind of people that, you know, if you've been involved in good science, you got nothing to worry about. If you care about public health, you got nothing to worry about. If you're in there working for the pharmaceutical industry, then I'd say you should move out and work for the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh, why not? Just make it official. Today, Senator.
Why not? Why not? The racist scarecrow, Laura Ingram, ladies and gentlemen, and the dirtbag nut, tinfoil man, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Oh, yeah. And then the question came up on women's productive rights. Now, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., in my opinion, even has some extreme positions on this that I don't even have. I pretty much have been consistent when it comes to a woman's right to choose, and I don't believe in late-term abortion unless it could affect the health of the mother, and that's why they're doing it. But I believe in a woman's right to choose. I think, if you want to make it the first 3 or 4 months, I'm totally okay with that. But RFK Jr. has said full term he's still okay with abortion, but he doesn't like talking about this issue because it upsets a lot of the evangelical right and many of Donald Trump's base supporters. So RFK Jr. was asked on his take on abortion drugs. Have a listen to this.
Anti-abortion or pro-life people and pro-abortion people are debating about what y'all are going to do with the abortifacient drugs that some would say haven't been studied enough, especially among young people. They're over the counter. Biden loosened the restrictions on them. What will you do on that issue?
President Trump hasn't made a decision about that issue yet.
Study it more?
What he's asked me to do is study the safety study the safety signals. And I think that that's worth doing. During the Biden administration, the NIH did something that was inexcusable, which is to tell doctors and patients not to report injuries, and that's not a good that's not a good policy.
Mr.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what Donald Trump told you to do. Study the safety. Yeah, I'm sure if they, I wonder if they did a study on releasing a bunch of white supremacists that were convicted of violent crimes. I wonder what the study of that safety would tell Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Such a liar, such an idiot. And here's where it gets even worse, right? So now Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the MAGA right are talking about children eating healthy lunches at school. Do we remember when Michelle Obama did this? Years ago, Michelle Obama, who I think is a hero, implemented some of these school lunches, not just pricing, but healthy lunches for kids. And the right was going crazy. How dare her? How dare a powerful and intelligent black woman tell my kids what to eat at lunch? Well, whatever happened to that hatred? Because Robert F. Kennedy Jr. saying the same stuff, the same damn thing that Michelle Obama said years ago that so many people on the far right had so many issues with. Have a listen to this.
And so we want to do a number of things, but not take away choice from people. The one place that I would say that we need to really change policies is the SNAP program and food stamps and in school lunches, because there the federal government in many cases is paying for it. And we shouldn't be subsidizing people to eat poison.
Will you do that in conjunction with the Department of Agriculture? Brooke Rollins was also confirmed. So you'll be working in tandem.
Yeah, and Brooke and I work very well together, and we're aligned on those issues.
Mr. Secretary.
Yeah, there you go. Very much aligned on those issues. What a joke. Michelle Obama was talking about this years ago. I mean, it's so ridiculous and it's so stupid that the far right have a problem with anything that the left does. In this case, a very intelligent and accomplished black woman named Michelle Obama. They had such a problem with this. But then if RFK Jr. starts talking about it, it's a joke. T-Mama, thank you for your donation, your $10 donation. She says, my 75-year-old dad cautioned me about speaking out to not draw attention towards myself because he grew up in a racially hostile environment. The fear is real. It's sickening, but I'm with it. Yeah. I totally understand what you're saying, and I appreciate your support. Thank you so much. So here's what we're doing. We got the super chat going. You make a donation. We'll read your comment on the air or question. Also, you can check out my website at pushingthelimits.live. So at pushingthelimits.live, if you support what we do, a great way to get involved. We're an independently owned radio show. Go to pushingthelimits.live. You can make donations on there, $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever you can afford. We greatly appreciate. Or you can go on the super chat right now on YouTube, which is at PTL Radio Show. Subscribe. It's free. I'm all over social media, but we recommend you watch the show on YouTube at PTL Radio Show. Or go to the website where we also sell merchandise. PTL shirts, hats, beanies, you name it, we sell it. It's pushingthelimits.live. All right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, the most interactive show around. Your chance to chime in. What have we been talking about today? Well, Matt Schlapp, also known as Matt Schlong, allegedly lewd conduct and sexually assaulting a man at a bar. This is the second accusation. We've been talking about Eric Adams, or at least I have, with Ryan in regards to Eric Adams and a quid pro quo. It's very clear that he is now Tom Homan's puppet, and that's why they dropped the charges. I think we all need to call that out. And then that wacko, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., appearing on Laura Ingram's show last night. The phone call, or the phone number, I should say, is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, is 702-221-7283. Now's your chance to chime in, MAGA supporter or not. We will take your call. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 90 seconds with your calls next. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
It's time to wake up and win the weekend. You're listening to the boss of the big ball. JP the Cat, giving you that grease. Join me every Saturday and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time for the live action on Vegas Scoreboard Express on KSHP 107.1 FM and AM 1400. Dive into the game day with my in-depth analysis, expert predictions, and winning plays from the sharpest minds in sports betting. It's more than just placing bets. It's about securing wins. Head over to jbtheticket.com and be sure to tune in to KSHP this weekend from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time to ride the winning wave with VSX. Tune in and get your money back from the sports book. All money, all sports, no bull. Miss the live show? Subscribe to Vegas Scoreboard Express on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and wherever you enjoy your favorite podcast and radio listening.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Friday. Programming note for you. The awesome David Packman's going to be joining us on the show on Monday, so you're not going to want to miss that. Working on getting Roland Martin on the show next week as well. So some big guests lined up already for next week. And, of course, we're broadcasting everywhere. The Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network. We're on my personal YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitch. We're on X. We're everywhere, and we appreciate you being a part of the show. Also appreciate our sponsors. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, with the Pass the Puck contest, where you could win up to $500 in free slot play during a Vegas Golden Knights game. Great food, great atmosphere. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. All right, I promised you all that I would be getting back to taking some calls now, as we are a very interactive show. And let's do that. Let's start off to Julie in Texas. Hey, Julie, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear. Go right ahead.
Okay, great. So, yes, I'm from Texas. I am a Democrat in a red state. I'm originally from California, so I come here with a different perspective. We're under a coup right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is what is, it's just mind-blowing that there's not somebody out there more. Look up the 14 characteristics of fascism by Lawrence Britt. It was written in 2003.
Yeah.
And those characteristics exactly
your phone
away at.
Your phone is, I apologize. I heard most of what you said. Your phone is cutting out a little bit, but I certainly agree with what you said. And this is a dictatorship. As I've said a million times, it's an oligarchy. And we're in some very dangerous times. And we need to call that for what it is. This is exactly what we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. So I hear your concerns. I hear everyone's concerns. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Frank is calling from Wisconsin. Hey, Frank, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Deep in my heart, I love this country. My nephew fought for it and died for it. And I realize now that we are heading toward a civil war. I can see that. And I'm not here to kill anybody over their differences of their opinion.
Right.
And that's where it's gotten to.
Well, listen, there are a lot of people that are echoing what you just said. Obviously, we both hope that doesn't happen. But we are dealing with a dictatorship and an oligarchy. And when you deal with what we are dealing with as a nation, you're going to get people that are worried that are going to be making the statements that you are making. And I don't disagree with you. I hope that doesn't happen. But I certainly understand your concerns. When you look at the fact that now you have Elon Musk, this is a retribution tour not only for Donald Trump, make no mistake about it. It's a retribution tour for Elon Musk and the people that he believes have done him wrong. And unfortunately, Elon has the power to pretty much do whatever he wants to. And we need to speak out as a country. We need to speak out. We need to call out, as I will do on this show every day, my friend. But I totally understand your concerns. 702-221-7283, the number to call. I want to thank a couple people that went on my website that made some donations. Joe, thank you for your donation. I appreciate that very, very much. Dan Smith made a $26 donation. Dan, we appreciate you very much. And also there are opportunities to do so on the Super Chat on YouTube at PTL Radio Show. All right, let's get back to the phone calls. Who do we got? Let's see. Let's go to Nick, who's calling from Jersey. Hey, Nick, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, can you hear me good?
Yes, Nick, go right ahead, sir.
So I'm in Jersey, so obviously I had a firsthand look on what kind of a despicable human being Donald Trump has been since the 80s, you know? And, you know, I served 2 tours, and I look at this country, and I'm just absolutely ashamed and disgusted. You know, I fought for, you know, the rights and freedoms of these people, and I feel like they just slap it in my face and in the face of my service members, you know, women and men.
Yeah.
And, you know, to go to another thing with this Adams thing, if Kathy Hochul had any type of spine or decency, she would fire him. Get him out of there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
Get
agree.
him out of there so
I
the
agree.
quid pro quo can go away, so to speak.
Can I ask
and
you?
real quick. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to ask you, and thank you for your service, by the way. What do you make of the fact that the guy who dodged the military multiple times has taken down picture frames of General Milley and replaced it with a picture of him and his mugshot? Well, like, this is the White House we're talking about, not your personal home. Like, what do you make of that as someone who served this country honorably? I'm curious.
I'm disgusted, Brian, in plain English. I have a few more choice words, but I'm not going to say them over the air, obviously. But it's just, I don't recognize this country. You know, my grandfather served, my father served, and I served. And I know my grandfather's turning in his grave. Since when are we a country that is a Russia sympathizer? Since when? Since Trump came about.
You're right.
You know?
You're right.
And the people that he's put in, I mean, stuttering John Kennedy over there, you know, he can't make a common sense sentence come out of his mouth. You know what I mean? I just don't understand.
I don't understand it either. These are very weird and dangerous times we are living in, but I am so glad there are people like you out there, not just that live in this country, that have given me the right to say what I think on the air, but the fact that you listen to the show, sir, I am very honored by that. Please call back anytime, and thank you again for your service. You're a hero. Not what Donald Trump said, suckers and losers. I don't respect him because he was captured. Let's go to Anne-Marie calling out of New York. Hi, Anne-Marie. What's on your mind today?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hey, good.
Good. I ordered one of your T-shirts. It's very nice.
Oh, well, thank you. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much for your
yeah,
support.
I've gotten a couple dirty looks on it already. So
that means we're doing
in
something
New York.
right. That means we're doing something right. Yeah.
And I wanted to remind your callers that there are protests Monday all over in the 50 states. I have a group of people that were going down to Albany, which is our capital, to protest this administration. But there's another alarming story that came out of the came out of the Guardian today about bird flu and how Trump is disrupting U.S. bird flu response as the outbreak worsens. It's a really scary article that since he's taken office, there's 11 sources told Reuters there's no monitoring, no reports coming out. They've withheld bird flu reports, canceled congressional briefings on bird flu.
Wow.
It just, it all seems like COVID all over again. Like he wants to ignore this, and as it worsens. So, with all the other things that, we're afraid of and everything that's happening with the oligarchy coup, now you've got this type of thing. So it's a pretty scary article.
Yeah, very scary. And there's a lot of scary things going on right now, right, my dear? And we need to be able to call it out, call it for what it is, and speak about it on the air. And listen, we need to come together as a country with some of those MAGA supporters who maybe are getting buyer's remorse. We need to be able to speak to them if they're capable of having an intellectual conversation. I do believe that there are some that are. And, they need to admit that they made a mistake. And if they're willing to do so, that's a great place to start. And then let's go from there and let's take them in. That's what we need to do as a country, my dear. Thank you for your support of the show. I really do appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right, calling out of New Hampshire. Let's go to Tina. Tina is next up on PTL. What's up, Tina?
Hi, Brian. This is Tina. I'm glad to meet you. I have been a fan, and I don't disagree with anything that you have to say.
That makes me feel extremely uncomfortable, but thank you. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Thank you.
No, it's true. I try to find something, but, I'm on the same page as you are.
Right.
And I'm a senior, and I've lived through a lot of history. But the one thing I want to mention that nobody seems to be picking up on is on RFK. Isn't he a climate lawyer?
Yeah, and he's
lawyer.
He's also a lifelong, what's the best word that I could use for this? Not only a conspiracy theorist, but a lifelong grifter. He's grifted off of his last name. Listen, Bobby Kennedy and John F. Kennedy would be spinning in their grave. You've heard a lot of people, immediate family members of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We've heard a lot from them on the way this man has lived his life. So I'm not surprised that Donald Trump would put him in a powerful position.
Yeah, but I want to mention also is that if he's an environmental lawyer, he is going to do a study on chronic diseases in kids.
Yeah.
Some of these chronic diseases are caused by the environment.
Oh, sure.
Like the respiratory and the asthma and where, people live. And then Donald Trump says that climate change is a hoax, and he is also anti-environment.
Oh, well, sure.
So it's really
absolutely
it's convoluted that he appointed this man that is completely really against Donald Trump's beliefs.
Listen, if somebody wants to talk about our health, and this is the same guy who beheaded a whale and put it on top of his truck, the same guy who staged a bear murder in Central Park, the same guy who sadly his ex-wife took her own life after reading his personal diary of the cheating and the lying. And this is the guy who wants to talk to us about health. I think if there's anybody, anybody that needs their mental health checked, it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I think we need a mental health check on Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and we need a cup check on aisle 3 when it comes to Nancy Mace. Thank you, Hyperspace, for your donation. We appreciate you. He says, not going to lie, I want to slap some sense into Tom Homan's bald forehead because he can't deport 20 million people. Obviously, I agree with that. 150%. Also, Lady Ark, thank you for your $10 donation on the YouTube Super Chat. She says, Brian, Matt Schlapp, never forget, darling. It's always the squeaky wheel that craves. I'm not the K/Y. Thank you so much for the donation, Lady Ark. Matt Schlong, ladies and gentlemen, in some trouble again. 702-221-7283. I love my listeners, by the way. Have I said that before? I love my listeners. They're funny, they're smart, and I have some of the best listeners of any radio show, in my opinion, across the country. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Terry. Terry is next, calling out of Maryland. What's up, Terry?
Hi, Brian. How you doing?
Good.
Since Donald Trump took office, I have been journaling to just see, exactly what the big things are for each day, and I've been writing them down. And I went back and reviewed them all, and there is absolutely nothing that this man has done to make my life better, your life better, or anyone's life better in the last days that he has been in office.
Yeah.
It's just like a repeat of, Donald Trump 1.0 in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019.
Yeah, it is.
Unbelievable.
But I think this is worse. I think the times we're in right now are worse. And here's why I say that. And I think you'll agree with me. So back in 2016, he was on a clean slate. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know the monster that he was back then. And back then, he did have some capable and decent people around him. Not many. Like the General Millies of the world, those kinds of people, right? And there were people, I'm forgetting the woman who worked for Melania Trump. I don't know why I'm forgetting her name. Maybe somebody could help me with that. She testified under oath in front of the January 6th commission. But there were some decent people around Donald Trump. I feel like today he has less, if any. A lot of yes men and yes women around him. I feel like his entire administration is a disaster and an embarrassment. And when you have Stephanie Grisham, by the way, thank you, everybody. Stephanie Grisham was the woman I was thinking of. When you have people that don't have a moral compass, that only care about themselves and enriching themselves like the Elon Musks of the world, it makes things much more dangerous. And I think that's why so many people like myself are more worried than they were maybe at the beginning. I'm sorry, we made a mistake with the phone lines there. Sorry, we did not mean to disconnect on you. My apologies, dear, but I appreciate your call. Thank you. 702-221-7283. CJ is calling from Louisiana. Man, I could use some barbecue right now out of Louisiana. CJ, what's going on?
Well, it's my first time to even know about your channel.
Oh.
So I'm brand new to you, but I've called into Tom Hartman a few times.
Okay.
The past couple of weeks. Man, I wish I could have known about you a few months ago. We might have been able to head off this.
You know what? If every attractive woman would say that to me, my life would be much better. But anyway, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
Hey, I'm glad you found the show.
Of yours at ksatp.com. Is that a
that's
email
my
address you actually read?
Yes, I do. I can't get back to everybody because I get a lot of emails, but yes, I do read all my emails. Yes, sir.
Okay, there's one thing in particular I might want to send you, but
sure.
But for now, I just wanted to say that you probably heard, with the Heritage Foundation is they're trying to get the SAVE Act passed to require extensive voter ID laws and things.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, let's do a little thinking here.
Okay.
What kinds of voter fraud can a photo ID actually do anything about?
Well, I'll give you the short answer to that. And there's a reason why Republicans are asking for photo ID, because let's be honest, okay? And you can tell me whether you agree with me or not here. Most people that don't have an ID, most people that maybe can't afford to have one, most people that maybe don't have the means to be able to go down to the DMV and get a license are usually people that vote Democrat. Let's just call it for what it is. And the reason why Republicans are demanding voter ID is because they don't want those people to vote. Period. That's exactly what we're talking about here.
Oh, yes. That look up Paul Wyrick's video from 1980.
Yes.
When he pretty much started the modern right wing, and he said, "I don't want everybody to vote."
Correct.
As a matter of fact, our leverage in elections goes up as the voting populace goes down. That's on YouTube. You can find it.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Well, listen, sir, I am so glad you found my show. I look forward to your email.
Can I finish what I was going with?
Go ahead.
Quick?
Go ahead. Yep,
okay.
Go ahead, sir.
All right. Anyway, I'm talking about the specific kinds of voter fraud that a voter ID could even hypothetically do anything about, there's only one, and that's impersonation fraud at the polls, where you actually go to the polls pretending to be somebody else.
Correct.
Okay, I could give you statistics from the Brennan Center, but that's Libby-Lib. Let's go with the Heritage Foundation, the big organization that's wanting to stop that's wanting to push voter ID because they say it'll stop voter fraud.
Yes.
They have this voter fraud database on their website. They found a whopping. They'll tell you on the landing page, it's like well over 1,000 cases of voter fraud.
Oh, I'm sure.
But
yeah.
Of the specific kind, impersonation fraud at the polls, they've got about like 15.
And a lot of these people that are,
82.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of these, thank you for the call, by the way, sir. A lot of these people that are committing voter fraud, I shouldn't say a lot, but those stories that I hear are not people from the left. They're people from the right. I don't know. That's just what I'm hearing. I don't know. Let's get back to the super chat here. Thank you for the call, by the way, sir, finding me out there in Louisiana. I'm honored, and I certainly appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much. Number to call, by the way, is 702-221-7283. Courtney, thank you for your donation. She says in the YouTube super chat, she says MAGA wants to correlate Nazi tactics with, I'm not going to use that word, but in regards to people of the Jewish faith, people need to read how Mustache Man signed the Reichstag fire decree, which was emergency power to overturn civil liberties in their constitution. Well, listen, Courtney, I hear what you're saying, and as I say on this radio show time and time again, this is, and it doesn't bring me joy to say this, by the way, this is a dictatorship. This is an oligarchy. And if you don't believe me or you don't think I am correct, then explain to me why Elon Musk is where he is. Explain to me why Stephen Miller is where he is. Explain to me why there are so many people that are completely unqualified or getting these positions, because they will say and do whatever Donald Trump wants them to do. Make America great again is make America white again, period. Disagree with me? Give me a call, 702-221-7283. Thank you, by the way, Pam, for your $38 donation. We appreciate you. And Gussie, thank you so much for your $25 donation. They went on pushingthelimits.live, and I'm very appreciative to them for their generosity. Thank you so much. All right, let's go to Lee. He's calling from Toronto, Canada. Go Leafs. What's up, Lee? How you doing, man?
Hey, Brian. How's it going?
Good.
So the reason I want to call today, I've heard you talk about this on your show today. You're saying that we live in a dictatorship and then oligarchy, as you're saying. First off, I want to say it's oligarchy, unless there's a difference that I'm not aware of.
Oligarchy.
And second, I don't understand how you're saying it's a coup. The man won the popular vote. The man won the election.
When did I say it was a coup?
You said it on this show.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Get the MAGA, with all due respect, sir, get the MAGA wax out of your ears. I never called it a coup. So you're wrong.
Okay, you called it. Okay, I mean, so I can email you the clip, but all right.
Okay,
anyway.
No. Here's what we're going to do. No. Let's do this. Let's have a challenge. I will make you a $100 bet right now that in the first hour of this program, I never called it a coup. And I've said from the beginning, facts matter, sir. I said from the beginning, Donald Trump won the election. I never called it a coup. So you are 100%. No. Wait. I'm happy to have a conversation with you, sir. But I don't appreciate you misquoting me on this show. I never called it a coup. I did say that I felt like we're in a dictatorship, and I can give you 100 reasons why and defend my opinion and my position. I never called it a coup. You know what was a coup? When Donald Trump claimed that he won the 2020 election, and we had something called January 6th, and we had a fake electorate scheme across the country. Sir, was that a coup?
I mean, I think it was an attempt. Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
good. I think it was bad.
Good. Okay, so let's start over. Go ahead.
But let's talk about your bet really quick, just to clarify, because I want the $100. Does that apply to you agreeing with one of your listeners who said it was a coup? And
you said I called it a coup. Those are your words. Are you willing to make that bet? We are not. No. I don't. Okay, you won't. Is that a bet? Are you going to give us your full name? Are you going to email me?
It's Lee Gandhi.
Okay. I don't. I know I didn't say it.
Bitch.
I'm sorry. Are you going to swear at me now? Is that what you just did? So you call into this show, you claim I said something that I didn't say, you're wrong. Then when you get caught, you try to change the wording of it. Sir, were you a part of the coup on January 6th? Would you like to have a conversation about Donald Trump? I'm willing to have a respectful conversation with you. And he hung up the phone, another MAGA coward. What a shocker. So when he says something that I didn't say and claims that I did say it, he gets caught. He tries to change the wording. And then when I catch him, because he'll never pay me the $100, okay, what does he do? He swears at me. Ladies and gentlemen, MAGA Nation. These are the people that voted for Donald Trump. This is why we are in an oligarchy. I hope I pronounced it right for you, sir. Did I pronounce it right for you? Oh, my goodness gracious. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go. Let's see. Who are we going to next here? Let's go to Paul. Paul is calling from California. What's up, Paul?
How you doing, Brian?
Hey.
Nice talking to you. I've spoken to you one time before, but real quick, let me tell you something. I've done business in Mexico for years, probably 40 years, up until when I retired. And I am the age of Donald Trump. Okay? So
gotcha.
Being there, and this, we need to build a wall, there has always been what is a fence there, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, let me start out by saying this. You sound a lot sharper than Donald Trump, but at somebody your age, sir, do you think somebody should be around your age to be the president of the United States, no matter who they are, Democrat or Republican? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know what? If I think that as our age, we need to go ahead and pass the torch
I agree.
to younger guys.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay? Because being younger, they're going to have the ability, just as I did when I was younger, to go ahead and grow into my age. And as you grow, that's what you learn.
Yeah.
But when you go ahead and deal with somebody like the current guy that's in the Oval Office,
right?
Okay, nobody that is on the MAGA end or just we voted for him because he said.
Yeah.
You're not, none of us, not you, not me, not anybody's going to be able to change your mind.
So
because
I agree with everything you just said, sir, and I appreciate your honesty. I'm going to use Mitch McConnell as a perfect example right now. And by the way, I think Mitch McConnell's pathetic. Listen, I wish him well with his health, okay? We know he's had some health issues and the trip he had and the freezing. I wish him well with his health because I'm not going to be a MAGA deplorable and attack somebody like they did with Feinstein. But I will say this. What a pathetic man. Now all of a sudden he's voting against Donald Trump. Now all of a sudden he's decided to take a stand. Where was Mitch McConnell for the last 7 years, right? Where was he before? Now all of a sudden he wants to take a stand against Donald Trump. The man has zero credibility, and quite frankly, his entire career, I think, has been pathetic.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I mean, I've been somebody that my whole life, if I say yes, it's yes. If I say no, it's no.
Right.
If I give somebody advice, I'm not going to pat them on the back and say everything's going to be fine when I know it's not going to be.
Well, let me tell you something. A lot of the women that have been around Donald Trump, if only Donald Trump had your morals. When I say yes, it's yes. When I say no, it's no. Think about all the women that have accused Donald Trump of abuse. I wish our commander-in-chief abided by what you abide by, and then I think a lot of women would have had better lives.
Yeah, but you know what the biggest problem, and I know who he is.
Right.
But the biggest problem for me is the Republican Party as it exists now.
Amen, brother. Amen, brother.
Because
yeah, go ahead.
I was a Republican.
Yeah.
And the minute that he went ahead and was going to run, I became independent.
Good for you.
And I'll tell you why. People say, this guy's a great businessman. This guy's this. Well, you know what? I knew somebody who lost over 100 employees their jobs and his business because this guy filed bankruptcy on them.
Right. No, I'm with you.
When you go ahead and screw over the people that you're supposed to be protecting, then it doesn't matter no more.
I agree.
The Republican Party right now, if you talk to them, Johnson went ahead and said, well, I get all my stuff from the Bible. That's a bunch of crap.
It is.
Because everybody on that side of the party cannot pick and choose from the Bible. The Bible says, thou shalt not lie.
Listen.
It doesn't mean it means thou shalt not lie for somebody
Donald
else's
Trump uses the Bible as a prop. As you know, he gets Bibles made in China for $3 and sells them for $60. Sir, I really appreciate you, and I appreciate your honesty and your wisdom. And boy, you're a lot sharper than Donald Trump, that's for sure. I think we go back to the Super Chat. I just want to read a few of them for you, and we appreciate, of course, as always, your support. And they keep coming in. First of all, PJ, thank you for your donation. February 17th is not my President's Day. There are protests at all state capitals. Get involved. PJ, I'm on your side 150%. Lil Sun, which is a cool name. Thank you for your donation. Says, did you hear Trump just signed an executive order to stop federal funding for public schools and a vaccine mandate? Yes, I have. Also despicable and disgusting. Thank you both for your support in the YouTube Super Chat. We appreciate you guys very much. Again, number to call, 702-221-7283. Wow, the lines are busy, as they always are on this show. That's every day on this show, and we appreciate you guys. I'm going to let Numchuck decide who we go to. Producer Numchuck, who you speak to when you call into the show, who we go to next. Who would that be? Oh, of course, it's got to be Darlene, the MAGA destroyer. Hey, Darlene, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Brian, I'm gonna do something different today. I'm gonna try to be nice.
Okay.
I just want to tell that caller that accused you of that he was totally wrong. That's how I feel about it.
The only time thank you, Darlene. The only time I've ever used the term coup was when we had fake electorate schemes across the country and Donald Trump was trying to find votes. I've never used the term coup to describe the 2024 election, and that guy's a liar. He's simply a liar.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll never see my $100, and I know that.
Brian, I'm so tired of everybody lying.
Yeah.
I've tried to tell people all morning. I've read comment after comment that they're so misinformed. And I'm like, all you got to do is just Google it. You'll find out what's going on.
Well, simply put, there's a lot of people that are not capable of Googling, Darlene, my dear. And there's a lot of people that watch their Newsmax and OAN all day long. Thank you, Darlene, for the phone call. It's great to hear from you, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, my dear. 702, she's a fan favorite here on the show. All right. Victoria's next up on PTL. What's up, Victoria?
Hi, how are you, Brian?
I am doing great, Victoria. What's on your mind today?
What's on my mind is that I have two Republicans who are big fans of Trump.
Oh, my God.
They silence me every chance they get. They don't want to hear it. And it's a very frustrating thing. Because
Victoria, can I ask you? I'm sorry to interrupt, but how are they silencing you? What are they doing?
They say, we don't want to talk about it. That's what they say. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about Trump. And I'm like, you don't know what's going on. Because I tell them, Trump did this. And they go, what? I didn't know that.
Hey, let me ask you something. Let's just say, like, you have a roommate, right? And your roommate comes home in a Klan outfit. And you said to your roommate, hey, what's up with that? Why are you wearing that? That's offensive. Where did you come from? Oh, I don't want to talk about it. That's the best analogy I could give to some of these MAGA buffoons.
Well, I think you're pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And this is what, it's a frustrating thing because I feel like the world is falling apart around us and they're like in another planet.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. It's very frustrating.
I would ask them why. Why don't you want to have a discussion? Why? These are, what's interesting? The people that are in public that wear MAGA hats, if you talk to them, I don't want to talk politics. Hey, dumbass, if you don't want to talk politics, then why are you wearing a political hat or a political shirt?
Exactly.
They want the attention only if people agree with them because they're idiots.
Yes.
They're idiots. Listen, if I went out there and I wore a political shirt, for example, which I rarely ever would do that because outside of the radio show, I usually don't like getting into political discussions. But if I did, there would be an intention behind it, right? I expect people that are going to agree and people that are going to disagree, and I would welcome the conversation. But these morons are such imbeciles. They'll have their "Make America Great Again" sign on their bumper sticker, and they don't expect people are going to engage them. Then don't have the sign up. Then I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't get it, and because you are so wonderful. Let me tell you.
when I watch your show, I scream because you say exactly what is going on. You're very factual.
Oh, thank
But
you.
most people are not. They don't. They.
You know
I
what's
don't know.
worse?
They're in line.
Thank you, dear, for that compliment. But you know what's worse? The people that are intelligent that intentionally lie. The Jesse Waters, well, I wouldn't call Jesse Waters intelligent. I think he's got the brain of an ant. All due respect to ants. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity's, Mark Levin's of the world, they're lying. They're biased. They're hacks. They lie. But it's intentional with them. There are a base of MAGA supporters that are obviously ill-informed and maybe not the smartest people in the world. But I think more dangerous are the people that are educated, the people that are intelligent, but they intentionally lie. And those are the people that I have, quite frankly, the biggest issue with, my dear. And I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283. We're going to go to Pennsylvania, home of Josh Shapiro. Let's go to Kathy. Kathy is next up on PTL. What's up, Kathy?
Hey, you guys. I hate to bring gloom and doom to you guys, but you guys got to pay attention to this because this is the worst, coming up on the worst of the worst. Today, President Elon Musk and his lackey Donald Trump cut back the U.S. bureaucracy today. In other words, they cut more people from the federal government.
Correct.
Of those people that lost their jobs, between 1,200 to 2,000 workers were from the Department of Energy, including hundreds of employees from the office that oversee the nuclear stockpile.
Yeah, correct. No, listen, you're right. This is going to be, unfortunately, an everyday thing in the Trump administration. They are out for their own personal interest and enriching their tech billionaire friends. They are going to be cutting people for no reason. For example, I think a perfect example of this is they're firing FBI agents for doing their job investigating January 6th. Yet they're giving people positions that are open white supremacist racists. We are going to see this every day, and it's exhausting, but I'm glad you brought that up. And Elon Musk is a danger to the country and, quite frankly, the world. And I don't care how much money he has. What I do care about is the conflict of interest. And we're led to believe that if he has a conflict of interest, Donald Trump is the guy that's going to step in and say, hey, Elon, I think there's a conflict of interest there because, I'm Donald Trump and I have a moral compass. So I got to step in here. Yeah, he's the last person on the planet that would do something like that.
That's right. And this is particularly dangerous because this is sending a message to our enemies that come and get us.
Yeah.
We're vulnerable as a nation. Come and get us.
Oh, I agree.
But one thing that I've said, that I've talked to, or rather that I've wrote to our buddy in Congress, is that what we need to do is that some of our elected officials needs to get our people, get some of their constituents together, and invite them to speak on the House of Congress.
Yeah.
We need to have some of our constituents come in.
I think there's a lot of things we need to do. I think that's one of the things we need to do, my dear, and I appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you to Matt Schlapp, who made a donation today. Matt Schlapp made a donation, and he said, let me grab you for a drink. I'm sorry, that was a terrible joke. I would never make a terrible joke like that. But 702-221-7283. Let's go to Homer. Is that the right? Homer is calling from St. Louis. Thank you for calling in, Homer. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian. How you doing, sir?
Good.
Hey, just a couple of quick things that I wanted to get your opinion on. The first being, so during Donald Trump's first term, when, there was a whistle blown in terms of the phone call that he made in reference to Ukraine and withholding the funding to get dirt on Joe Biden, so on and so forth, right? So my first question is being that, are those watchdogs still in place? And does the American people even know who they are if they exist? And the second one being, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, and the other thing I wanted to get your opinion on is there's been a lot of talk surrounding constitutional crisis, and there's been a lot of talk around it, but a lot of people won't engage in saying that, hey, I'm going to refrain from saying that we're in a constitutional crisis. However, when it's clearly, when it's very clear that we're in a dictatorship, at what point how is a constitutional crisis defined? Is what I would like to get your opinion on.
Sure, it's a
and
good
at
question.
What point do we step? At what point do we step up? Whether it's in government as a people, I know Democrats are saying that they don't have the leverage because they don't have the power. But at
Right.
what point do we define this as a constitutional crisis in order to enact some type of
I get your
protection
question.
for our
Such
citizens?
a good question. I'm going to try to answer it the best way I can. Constitutional crisis when the Supreme Court ruled that they gave Donald Trump immunity to basically do whatever he wants to do. We've always had checks and balances in our government. It didn't matter which president was in office. It didn't matter whether it was a Republican or a Democrat. We always had checks and balances. Now we don't have that. So when the Supreme Court and the ones that are, of course, the conservative Supreme Court justices and the douchebags like Clarence Thomas, right, and others, when they gave Donald Trump immunity, it pretty much gave him the okay to do whatever he wants. And if they break the law, they will claim the law is unconstitutional. Listen, sir, they've already done it. Look at the attorneys general that they already have fired. Look at all of them. I think it was like, 17 or 19? The law says you have to give Congress a 30-day notice. They broke the law, and then Stephen Miller's on CNN saying, well, we thought the law was unconstitutional. Can you imagine everyday life people? You get pulled over for going 100 into 65 or something, and you get pulled over, and the cop's about to give you a ticket, and you say, sir, I think this ticket is unconstitutional. Now, you would get laughed at, but the analogy is correct, because if you break the law, you need to abide by the laws, and it shouldn't matter whether you're the president of the United States or an everyday citizen. Donald Trump is breaking the law every day. Elon Musk is breaking the law every day. There are no longer checks and balances, and we are in trouble because once we lose our checks and balances, and once we lose the authority to say, I don't care how much power you have, sir, you can't break the law, that's when we have a constitutional crisis. We have one right now. We are going to have one for the next 4 years at a minimum. I hope I answered your question. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'm
Yep.
still here, Brian. Thank
Yep.
you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And I appreciate your call, my friend. It's a really good question, and that's the best way I can answer it. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I believe we're going to Andy. Andy is calling from Joyzy. Joyzy. What's up,
right.
Andy?
Hey, what's going on? I called you before, but I just wanted to rattle off a couple of things that I've been waiting to get out into the air here. Okay, this is the thing, and Ezra Klein was talking to Kara Swisher about this. There's going to be a problem. People are going to start dying. Like your other caller was talking about, the bird flu
yes.
is raging. And then you've got measles breaking out in Texas, of course, all unvaccinated children, right?
Yep.
So measles is breaking out. You got the bird flu coming around. Who knows? And then planes are falling out of the sky because they're firing FAA, directors. And like even with East Palestine, when the train went off the track and that people are going to start having babies that are glowing, that is a Republican thing, okay?
Yeah.
Ohio is a Republican state. They didn't want to change the brakes on the train like every other state was doing. They want to save a buck. And now, okay, so that's going to happen. But once these things start happening, you and us have to hold them accountable.
Oh,
we can't
100%.
allow them to spin it.
Let me tell you
Because
something.
When people start dying,
Yes,
they're
I agree.
going to get chased out of that White House. When people's kids start
you're right.
dropping like flies.
You're right. So here's
Yeah.
what I would say to that, sir, and I agree with everything you just said. We cannot normalize Donald Trump. What the times that we are in right now are not normal. We have a constitutional crisis. This is a dictatorship. So as you say, whether someone is killed, which obviously I hope doesn't happen, or whatever the case may be, a conflict of interest like an Elon Musk, we need to hold this administration to account. And if the Supreme Court is not going to do it, you and I need to do it. And that is the best way. That is the best way that I could respond to what you just said. By the way, I agree with every single word you just said. Laura went on pushingthelimits.live and she made a donation. Thank you, Laura, for your donation. You can go to pushingthelimits.live to do so. We're also taking donations in our super chat where I will read your questions and your comments live on the air, so long as they abide by FCC regulations. And the comments have been great so far, by the way. All right. My home state of Connecticut. We have a caller. Yes, that's right. I am from Connecticut. And we have Jose who's calling from Connecticut. Jose, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian. I hate to get off the subject here, but I am Puerto Rican, obviously. I just wonder what he's going to do to the Poor Island.
Say that again. Come again. I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said.
But yeah, I just, like I said, I wonder what he's going to do to Puerto Rico, to the island, if he's doing everything up here.
So what about Puerto Rico? I'm sorry, sir. I'm confused with your question.
Let me just turn the TV down. Yeah, I just wonder what he's going to do to Puerto Rico.
You're wondering. I'm sorry. I misheard what you said. Okay, I got you now. What is he going to do about Puerto Rico? Well, I think the only thing he's ever done for Puerto Rico is when he flew out there and he threw out paper towels. Do you remember that?
Yes, yes, I do. Yes, we do.
That's about all
Yes,
Donald
we do
Trump.
quite well.
That's about all Donald
Quite
Trump is
well.
good for. He doesn't care.
Insulting.
He doesn't care about the great people of Puerto Rico, and But what he will do is a photo op when people are dying in a natural disaster, and he decides to throw out paper towels pretending to be Tom Brady. Listen. The bottom line is, what is he going to do for Puerto Rico? The same that he's going to do for Canada, the same he's going to do for Mexico, the same he's going to do for many of our friends and allies. He's going to attack. He's going to threaten tariffs. He doesn't want Puerto Ricans coming to the United States of America. It's make America white again. So what is he going to do for Puerto Ricans? The same thing he's doing for any other minority and any of our allies. He makes threats, he attacks, and he blames everybody but himself. That's what he's going to do, sir.
Yeah, well, we lost our blood since World War One. We lost our blood. Puerto Ricans have fought for America since World War One.
No, I hear you.
We needed then.
I hear you.
We needed then, right?
You're right. You're right. And you know somebody who hasn't fought, by the way? Donald Trump, the draft-dodging coward that he is. Thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate you. Shelley gave us a donation, says, can anyone get into our voting records and phones? I'm sure there are ways of doing that. I hope that people are not doing that. But one thing I don't like to say is that the election was stolen, because it wasn't. Did Elon Musk possibly break the law? Perhaps. The election was not stolen. Where are all my MAGAs out there? I only had one MAGA call in. Maybe because they get destroyed. Maybe because they can't have an intellectual debate with me on any level. I always give them the opportunity, and I'll give you the opportunity now. Do you think Donald Trump's done a good job the first 3.5 weeks of his administration? Do you think he's done a good job? Now's your chance to call in. That number, 702-221-7283. I'll even give you an easier one. Why did you vote for Donald Trump? Why? Why did you vote for Donald Trump? Tell me why. Number to call is 702-221-SAVE. 702-221-7283. All right, let's go to Wisconsin. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff is next up on PTL. Hey, Jeff, what's going on, man?
Hey, first off, Brian, I'd like to say thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
And then second, I got to look at something other than my television. It's, anyway, I would like to say we've got to stop this fascist takeover of our country. I don't know what the proper answer is. And I would certainly be open for ideas. I remember my dad, who was a World War II veteran. I'm 62 now. And my dad, who was a World War II veteran, said that cops don't stop fascists.
Yeah.
People do.
Can I ask you, sir, where did your dad serve? He's a World War II.
He served both in Saipan and for a short time in Germany.
Okay, so your dad was a hero, of course. What would your dad be? I'm sorry, is your dad still with us?
No,
Okay.
he passed back in like 1999.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that, but there's a reason why I wanted to make sure if I speak in past tense, I want to be respectful. So, what do you think what do you think your dad would say about the times that we are living in today and the current commander in chief?
I can guarantee you that my dad, Keith George, would be flipping in his grave.
Isn't that sad?
If he knew exactly what was going on, he's doing cartwheels. He would never stand for anything like this.
Well,
and he was never ever one to come home and talk about anything that happened to him while he was in the military.
Yeah.
I don't remember him telling me one story of military service, good or bad.
Have we ever had a president of the United States that has been any more disrespectful to our military than Donald J. Trump?
Oh, no.
I can't think of one. And, you know, it's part of the reason why I didn't vote for John McCain or Barack Obama. I have a lot of respect and certainly had a lot of respect for John McCain. And the moment when John McCain took that microphone from that lunatic who called Barack Obama an Arab, I thought it was one of the best moments of the last couple decades in politics when he said, "No, ma'am, Barack Obama is a decent family man. We just happen to disagree on policy and issues." And I was going to vote for Obama. And then I said, you know what? I'm okay if this man wins. As much as I despise Sarah Palin because I think she's a ditz and a nitwit, John McCain, I believe, would have been a good president. And he's a war hero. And Barack Obama, decent man, good man, very intelligent, very articulate, wonderful family. And that's why I didn't vote. Now, the reason why I didn't vote in 2016 was very different. I didn't want either of them to be president. I admit that I made a mistake. I did not make a mistake when John McCain was running against Barack Obama. I did make a mistake, a big one, when Hillary ran against Trump. I had no idea Trump would turn out to be the monster that he was. And I openly admit that. I made a mistake, right? I'm still not a big Hillary person, but she's very overqualified. She's intelligent. She wouldn't have embarrassed our country. And she certainly wasn't a threat to our democracy. And I made a mistake, and I made a vow to myself that I would never, ever make that same mistake again. And here we are. 70222. Thank you for the call, sir. And your father was a hero. I thank him for his service, a hero. All right, 702-221-7283. Why did you vote for Donald Trump? I wonder if anybody out there is willing to have the guts to call in and tell me why. I would imagine probably not. But anyway, let's go to Tom, who's calling out of Kentucky, home of the Wildcats. What's up, Tom?
Not much. You doing all right?
What's on your mind today, Tom? Thanks for calling in.
I wish all these people that call into your show that hate Donald Trump, I wish everybody would just go out, live their life, do what they want to do, and just quit worrying about all this stuff. I mean, shows like your show, shows like Sean Hannity, all those Fox shows, the only thing they show to try to sow division between everybody.
So
they
you think
everybody up in the
all right?
uproar.
So Tom, you think I sow division?
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Criticizing our politicians, for example, a 34-count felon, and did we lose? I don't know what just happened there. So let's. Okay, sorry about that. So criticizing our politicians or calling out our politicians, for example, what took place on January 6th, or the fact that some people are losing access to prescription medications. You think that's dividing people for calling out truth, and you're comparing me to Sean Hannity?
Yeah, all politicians suck.
I disagree.
Every single one of them.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. I disagree with you, by the way. I think a lot of them do. We'll agree on that. So, did you vote this time around?
No.
So you think Kamala Harris was just as much of a threat to our democracy and to this country as Donald Trump? You tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me why. Why do you think Kamala? We'll get to Donald Trump. I'm happy to do that. But tell me why you think Kamala Harris was a threat to our democracy.
I just don't think she's competent with what she does. Just the way she carries herself, the way she talks, the way she cackles about everything.
So you didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she cackles, and you decided not to.
That's not the only.
Okay,
reason.
well, why is she not here? Okay, but hold on. Let's go one by one. You don't like her cackle, which I think is absurd. I don't care the way someone laughs, and you don't think she's competent. Okay, let's talk about that. She passed the bar. She became the attorney general twice. She then was elected as a senator, a very highly educated woman who's never been in trouble with the law before. She's a good mother. She's a good wife. And she's a pretty intelligent lady in getting to where she is. So when you say she's not competent, can you be specific and give me an example of why you think she's not competent? Because I can give you about 1,000 examples of Donald Trump.
there's 1,000 people out there that have passed the bar.
Okay, so give me an
That's
example.
different.
Okay, so you don't think you don't think you're smart if somebody passes the bar. Apparently you don't think they're smart if they become the
No, that's not what I said at all. There's
Competent.
thousands of people that do that.
Okay,
but
so
that
why do
doesn't
you
mean
think,
they're-
give me an example of why you
but
think, you're right.
That doesn't mean that doesn't qualify them to be president.
Okay, I agree with you, but you said she's not.
Every attorney,
Okay,
every state attorney
sir.
is not qualified to be president.
Okay.
Every senator, that doesn't necessarily qualify them to be president.
Okay, so what is it about Kamala Harris that you think did not qualify her? Give me.
I just don't think she would make a good president. I mean,
Okay, but
she was
you
vice
just.
president.
But
She
will
wasn't a good vice president.
Okay, but you just. Okay, so being a good vice president, is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can be a good vice president. Think about what you're saying, but you're still not qualified to be president.
I said I didn't think she was a good vice president.
Okay, so you don't like. Okay, so tell me why. What are some policies? Be specific. You're saying, like, if I said Donald Trump's a bad guy, you would say, okay, well, what has he done that makes him a bad guy? The cheating, the lying, the felonies. I could give you a lot of different examples, right? You're saying she's not competent. Tell me what she has done in her career that would lead you
I mean,
to
the whole
believe.
thing with the whole thing with the border, that was a disaster.
The whole
They put
thing,
you up-
the whole thing with the border. You mean the thing where?
you will not let nobody talk. Every time
Go
somebody says
ahead.
3 words,
You
interject
haven't.
and interrupt them.
You haven't been specific in a
You
5-minute
won't let- you
conversation.
won't let me- you
Go.
won't let me finish
What
my
about the
sentence.
border? What about the border? Go ahead.
She was appointed border czar.
No, she wasn't. Everything you say is wrong. Mayorkas was the border czar. How can I have a conversation with you with literally every word out of your mouth is not factual? That's why I interrupt
Did
people.
Biden not come on TV and say that he was putting her over the
Sir,
border?
sir, Mayorkas,
Did Biden say that?
Sir,
Did Biden say,
regardless,
did Biden say that?
sir, I need you to listen.
Did Biden say that?
Bottom down. Hey, dummy, I'm calling to call you a dummy now. Mayorkas was assigned the border czar. Kamala Harris was not the border czar. Joe Biden had a lot of hiccups and he said a lot of things because he wasn't the same person he was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I'm giving you facts. Mayorkas was the border czar. So you've criticized Kamala Harris for the border. You called her the border czar, which she was not. And she was one of the people that orchestrated the bipartisan border bill put forth by MAGA Republicans and Democrats. So now that you're wrong on that, give me another example because Mayorkas was the border czar. So you're wrong there. Give me example number 2. Why was she not competent? Go ahead, sir.
I just don't think she was. I just don't.
You
like
just
her
don't.
policy.
What policy did you not
See,
like?
Here you go. Will you let somebody finish the sentence?
I am. What policies did you not
Please.
like? What policies did
I
you
don't
not?
like her. I don't like her stance on abortion. I don't like her stance on transgender.
What was the policy?
That is just.
Okay, one at a time. So I don't want you to name me 10. So that's fine. You don't like her stance on abortion. Okay, so so you don't believe a woman should have the right to choose. Is that what you're saying, sir?
Yeah, she has the right to choose.
Okay, well, that was
If
her
she wants to
policy.
have- if you
What
don't
was
wanna
her
have a
abortion
baby,
policy? What was her abortion policy?
If you don't want a baby, don't have sex. That's
Okay,
your choice.
do you believe the women should? Okay, so you're anti-abortion. You don't like her.
Yes.
You think, okay, so in 25 states right now, abortion is illegal. In some of those states, women, if they are sexually assaulted, the word starts with the letter R, or the victim of incest, they have to be forced to have that baby. Are you okay with that policy, sir?
You do not have to be. You can go somewhere else to get an abortion.
Geography. So according to you, geography should have say in a woman's body when it comes to sexual assault or when it comes to incest. You think geography is a good policy. Is that what you're saying, sir?
It's not a woman's body that she is.
Yes,
killing.
it is. Yes, it is a woman's body. Okay, so you think that geography should dictate what a woman can do with her body. Now, I think that's totally asinine, but okay, you call yourself a pro-lifer, right? Is that a fair characterization, sir? You call, yes or no? Yes or no? There's a reason why I'm asking, sir. Do you consider yourself a pro-lifer? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so you agree with the Republicans taking away maternity leave, policy of taking away food stamps, of taking away welfare, Donald Trump's executive order, making it more difficult for seniors to get insulin capped at $35, the biggest tax breaks for the top 1% in this country, pardoning a bunch of January 6th insurrectionist white supremacists. If you call yourself pro-life, are you okay with any of those quote-unquote policies of the Trump administration. Policies.
No, I'm not. Those policies are wrong too. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so you named me abortion, okay? You call yourself pro-life. Can you give me another example? First, you said she wasn't competent, which is absurd. You didn't give me any examples of why she's not competent. And you talked about her policies. Let's take aside abortion for a moment. By the way, more people in this country disagree with you and believe in a woman's right to choose, but that's okay. All right, let's move on to another one. Give me another policy of Kamala Harris that you thought was a bad policy that made you the decision that I'm not going to vote for her or Trump. Go ahead.
Men and women's sports.
Men and women sports. What about it, sir? Kamala Harris never flat out said that I'm okay with naturally born men transition to women competing. She never had a policy on that.
The whole administration did.
No. You see, you're conflating the two. Joe Biden is the one that makes policy. The vice president does not make policy. So you're wrong there. Give me number 3 because you were wrong on number 2. Kamala Harris did not.
Only thing I'm trying to say, I'm not taking up for any politician. I'm saying they all.
Okay, backtrack. We're talking about Kamala Harris. I'm happy to have this conversation with you. You just said her policy of transgenders playing sports. She never implemented a policy on that. So you're wrong on that. So let's go to number 3. Go ahead, sir. I'll give you the platform. Go ahead.
So what policies did she implement then if she didn't do anything when she was vice president?
You're the one making the argument, not me. I can tell you when she ran for office and campaigned, I'll give you some of her policies that she wanted to implement if she wanted to become the president of the United States.
Okay,
raising minimum wage, maternity leave, giving a woman the right to choose, for example. She was pushing the bipartisan bill, which she said if she became president, she would get Republicans and Democrats back at the table. She wanted to implement that. She wanted to give a $25,000 down payment for those that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, to buy a home. Prescription drugs. She wanted to continue to implement Joe Biden's policy of capping insulin at $35, giving it for Plan B and Plan D, which allowed millions of Americans cheaper insulin. Donald Trump signed an executive order abolishing that, going back to his original plan. I can go on, sir. I can give you 20 more policies. You've called Kamala Harris the border czar. That is factually inaccurate. You claim that she had a policy with transgenders in sports. Not true. Never implemented that. Never said that she was okay with naturally born men competing with women. So you're wrong about that as well. You've called her incompetent. You haven't given me any examples except for her cackle. Do you see where I'm going with this, sir? Can you please?
No.
Go ahead.
The only thing I know, the economy was a lot stronger under Trump.
Not true. Not true. The economy was a lot stronger under Trump. Sir, you have no idea what you're talking about. When Donald Trump left office, we were losing 3,000 to 5,000 people a day from COVID. We were locked up in our rooms. We had COVID. We had a war in Ukraine. Compared to all the other G7 countries in the world, we were number 1, and inflation went dramatically down. Infrastructure bill, for example, CHIPS and Science Act, unemployment rate at record lows that we've had in 50 years. In the first 3.5 weeks of Donald Trump's administration, gas prices have gone up. The price of eggs have gone up. Inflation is up 3%. You don't know what you're talking about.
The war in Ukraine didn't start till 2022.
Uh-huh. And guess who was president during that time? Joe Biden, right? Yeah, it kind of affects the economy a little bit. But you see, when Joe Biden left,
you said we had a war in Russia. With the war in Russia and Ukraine started when Trump was in office.
Never said that. I never said the war.
I
said COVID. I never said the war in the Ukraine started under Trump.
Yes,
You're pivoting, sir. Okay, sir, guess what? Then
you
you probably misheard me. The war started in Ukraine under Joe Biden. It is a cause and effect to the economy. Can you please explain to me where the economy is at right now in the first month of Donald Trump's administration? Can you explain the fact that we had the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years under Joe Biden? Can you explain the fact that the NASDAQ was through the roof? Infrastructure jobs, manufacturing jobs, through the roof, even after. Do you understand the economy that Donald Trump took over after Barack Obama, and the economy that Donald Trump left Joe Biden, and the economy that Joe Biden left Donald Trump? Can you come to an understanding of that, or are you unaware?
Only thing I know, when me and my family go to the grocery store now, we're paying double.
Yeah, right, because Donald Trump's the president and the price of inflation.
Donald Trump's been president
I just said in 3 weeks, the price went up 3%. Inflation went up 3%. But let me ask you a question.
How much did it?
Let me
how
ask
much
you a
did
question.
It go up when how much did it go up?
It
when
went
Biden
down.
was in
It went
office?
down to under 3% when he left office. But let me ask you a question. Inflation.
Dude, you were ignorant.
Yeah, I'm the ignorant one. You're the one that hasn't. Okay, so let me ask you a question, Mr. Ignorant. Let me ask you a question, you MAGA buffoon. Inflation was up all over the world under Joe Biden's administration when he was in office, all over the world. So let me ask you a few questions about that. Is that Joe Biden's fault that inflation was up all over the world, or is there cause and effect, sir? What do you think that is? We were number one compared to the G7 countries, the richest countries in the world. Are you aware of that, sir? Speaking of ignorant, are you aware of that? Go ahead.
When were groceries cheaper? When Biden was in?
No,
or when
no,
Trump
you're
was
not answering my question. You're not answering my question. Inflation was up all over the world. Do you blame Joe Biden for that, or is there a cause and effect?
in?
Answer the question.
When were groceries cheaper? When Biden was in, or when
I'm
Trump
asking
was in?
you. I'm not asking you to answer a question with a question. Answer mine.
I'm asking you.
I'm asking you a question, and it's my show.
So
you
you
dope.
can't
You
answer-
either
you
answer.
can't-
I'll tell you what. If you haven't answered one of my questions, I'll answer yours if you answer mine. Okay, dope. Okay, MAGA clown. Okay.
So you can't answer.
Hey,
because
MAGA
you know
clown.
it's gonna make-
Shut
you-
up.
you
And
know it's gonna-
hey, dumbass. I just said I'm going to ask you a question, and then after you answer mine, I will answer yours. Get the MAGA wax out of your ears, dope. Inflation was up all over the world. Is that Joe Biden's fault? And the fact that we were number one compared to all the other G7 countries compared to inflation. But the fact that inflation was up all over the world, is that all Joe Biden's fault? Yes or no? Answer the question.
Yes. Why is it Trump's
Okay,
fault?
pot him down,
inflation
pot
was
him
up,
down,
but it's
pot him down, pot him down. So this idiot is calling me ignorant, and he just said, wow, this is a new level of stupidity. Inflation was up all over the world, and that's Joe Biden's fault. Sir, what is your IQ and what is your education? You might be one of the dumbest callers I've ever had. You're saying that inflation all over the world is Joe Biden's fault. Surely you could come up with a policy or a couple policies to explain to me why gas was up all over the world and 98% of the world inflation was up. You're saying that was all Joe Biden's fault. Are you serious?
Will you answer my question now since I answered yours?
No. You just gave me the
Exactly.
earth is
See,
flat.
you're
Okay,
lying.
dumbass.
You said I
All
will
right,
answer
you
your-
give me a stupid answer. 2 + 2 = 3. Go ahead and ask your stupid question, but I think we've proven who
Wait,
the moron is. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Hey, Matt's
dumbass.
racist now.
Go ahead, dumbass.
When were groceries higher? When Trump was in or when Biden was in?
When were groceries high? When Trump was in or when Biden was in? So you see, sir, it's very, very simple. There's something
answer
called.
the question.
I'm answering it. Shut up.
it's-
Pot him down again. I can't answer if you start talking trash. I can't answer. You and Kid Rock have a lot in common. So you see, sir, we were in the heart of the pandemic when Donald Trump left office, when we were losing 3,000 to 5,000 people a day. It's called cause and effect, but you don't understand what that is. You just say, well, when Biden took over, the first year of Biden in office, that inflation was high, so that's all on Joe Biden. And you see, I'm doing impersonation of you, sir. And you know what? All over the world, inflation was high. That's also on Joe Biden. Sir, you're not a serious person. You're extremely ignorant and ill-informed. And by the way, I don't believe you. You voted for Donald Trump, didn't you, sir? Answer the question. I think you're a liar. You voted for Donald Trump. Admit it. You lied at the beginning of this call. You voted for Donald Trump because surely there's nobody as dumb as you could possibly be and not vote for Donald Trump. I don't believe you sat this one out. Will you admit that you voted for the orange orangutan, please? Will you at least be honest with me?
I'm still waiting on you to answer my question.
No, sir. I did answer the question. It's my show and not yours. I'll ask you one more time. Did you vote for the orange orangutan, or are you just a racist that didn't want to vote for a woman because she happens to be a woman of color? Just admit that you voted for Donald Trump. Admit it. Admit it. Admit it. Admit it. You voted for Trump. Admit it. You voted for Trump. Have a nice day. Have a nice day, sir. So we've learned a lot in that phone call. We've learned that Joe Biden is responsible for inflation all over the world. He said Kamala Harris was incompetent, but he couldn't give one example as to why she's incompetent. He said she was a bad vice president and thought that she implemented transgender laws, which, by the way, she didn't. That's 100% not true as vice president. She didn't implement any laws. And I don't believe him. I think he voted for Donald Trump. All right, so we have to go to my guest. I ran a little bit late there, and I apologize. She is a former pastor turned life coach now, and it's always a pleasure having her on the show. I'm sorry, Nicole Mitchell. I ran a little late there with that call. caller. He got me fired up.
I'm so glad we get to do good news at the end of the week for you. You worked so hard. You have such difficult conversations. I'm so glad we get to end it in a positive note.
It's not really difficult. I kind of enjoy, roughing it up with some of these MAGA callers. And that guy was a MAGA caller. Hey, I wanted to ask you something to start, if I may, because I think this is kind of an important story. So one of the masterminds behind Project 2025, he's been anti-OnlyFans models. And we just learned that he follows a few OnlyFans models. Now, you being an OnlyFans model yourself, does that surprise you at all? I'm just curious.
I have to laugh. I'm just like, the things these people could get done if they didn't spend all their time ranting and raving about the very thing they consume. Like, let's just choose to be better with our time, energy, and integrity.
Agree. And I think, would you say that there's a lot of hypocrites like on the far right that they might be anti-porn, right? They might be, I don't know, you name it, anti-anything.
Yep.
And yet these are the same people that consume the same stuff. Is that like a fair assessment?
Of course, because, on the right, typically as a whole, they're very repressed and they don't know how to healthily channel their pleasure, their sexuality. And so they do it in secret and they have to shame other people so that it come back on them that they're doing the same thing.
It's very unfortunate because I feel like, and you correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but a lot of the people that are completely anti-gay and anti-transgender are usually the same people who are attracted to the same sex, which, by the way, you and I have no problem with. What would you say to those people? I'm curious.
I would say, instead of trying to control what other people do, try to figure out what your truth is. Like, sit with your own feelings and your own discomfort and your own identity and your own attraction. You don't need to police other people's bodies or identities. You just don't.
I think that's really good advice. So I wanted to get a little bit more in detail because I think this is really important, because you come from that lifestyle of a right-wing evangelical Christian pastor, and you got out of that life and you're doing a lot better for yourself now. So this guy's name is Russ Vought. He's Donald Trump's OMB director. He's also the architect of Project 2025. He is called for banning porn, not just OnlyFans. He is called for banning pornography. He follows some OnlyFans creators on Instagram, including a woman by the name of Chloe Harper. I don't know if you know who she is. What's I know I laughed at this too when I first heard it. What would you say to good old Russ, who wants to ban porn but follows OnlyFans creators?
I always laugh at these men who think they're being so smart and they're like kind of dumb, where it's like, okay, I'm going to do this whole thing and push for this new law while publicly following OnlyFans creators. Like, I'm like, they don't realize like we can see who they follow. They don't realize we can see what they're doing online. Like, I'm like, if you can't even know the basics of how social media works, I feel like you just should not be passing laws. Like that's too advanced. That's too advanced. And I just have to say that it's so ridiculous.
I tend to agree with you. I know you always like mentioning some positive, fuzzy, good heart feeling stories. So I want to give you the opportunity to do that this week. What have you been able to find?
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, I there's always good. Let's start with this. There's always good in the world.
Sure.
And sometimes when life is hard and heavy, we have to intentionally seek it out. So I always encourage people when they're starting to feel overwhelmed and just saturated by the injustice and the frustration and the broken systems we live in, to give yourself permission to hunt down the good news.
Yes.
Like, I will literally Google every week, good news this week. I just need to know. I just need to know outside of my teeny tiny bubble in the world that there are good things happening to all kinds of people all around the world. And it just gives me hope back and it helps me have faith in humanity. So I just say for anyone who's listening, if and when you feel down and you feel like everything's hitting the fan and nothing is working out, give yourself permission to look up the good news, because there's always good happening.
I agree. So you once appeared on the Dr. Phil show. I wanted to ask you about this.
Yeah.
Because Dr. Phil is now being toured around the country, watching people, illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants, whatever people want to use the term, and he's interviewing them as they're being handcuffed. I find it despicable. Some of these people, most of them, are not violent criminals.
Yeah.
Yet Dr. Phil is taking the time to try to make and get ratings and viewership. You appeared on his show. Was he creepy at all when you met him? And what do you make of this?
He was actually a really great host. And
really?
Yeah. I actually gave credit to, who knows, but I actually gave credit to him getting older. Like, he was such a fiery, mean, aggressive person on a show that I was prepared for that if he flipped on me in the show. But he was so kind. And at one point, someone got defensive and he said, listen, I'm not here to cause problems. I'm just asking questions. If there's anything you don't want to answer, don't answer. So it was actually a really positive experience. But I just learned about these tours and interviews he's doing. And I'm like, I'm nauseated that it's so predatorial and so insensitive to this very cruel injustice to these innocent families and folks that, oh, my heart just hurts.
I agree. If I saw it, are you kidding me? I would just say that over and over again. But yeah, I'm not a big Dr. Phil fan. I'm glad that he was respectful to you, Nicole. Yeah. And I'm sorry that I went a little long with that MAGA imbecile. That's my apologies. But we need some more time next week to go over some stories. We kind of didn't have the time to do it today, and I apologize. Nicole, looking beautiful as always. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, you and your family, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Sounds good. Bye, Brian.
Thanks, Nicole. Take care. That's Nicole Mitchell, everybody. All right, so David Pakman's going to be joining us on the show Monday. That's going to be a lot of fun. We are planning on having a couple other big guests. We're just trying to, Myron Gaines, who has a huge platform on social media, Kanye West defender. We're planning on having him on the show next week as well. Roland Martin. So we got some big guests lined up next week. So I get these. I want to thank everybody in the super chat, everybody that has gone to my website and made purchases and made donations. You guys are the best. People that are watching live on TikTok, on the Occupy Democrats Network. I love all you guys. If you haven't already, give me a shout out, or at least go on my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. Subscribe for free. If you want to get more involved in the show, it's an independently run show. Please check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. We sell merchandise on there, shirts, hats, beanies, PTL gear. We've had people call into the show today, say they're proudly wearing it. I appreciate you guys. And you can also make donations on there. Right on the front page, there's a donation button to take a couple minutes of your time. It's how we keep the lights on here and keep the show going. So I appreciate you guys very, very much. PTL Nation, thank you. It is turning into PTL Nation. We have a large contingency, and I think we have some of the smartest callers in the country, with the exception of a few that call into the show that think Joe Biden is responsible for inflation around the world. If that's not stupid, I don't know what is. But anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. We will see you Monday. David Pakman is our special guest on Monday, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Yo.